Hey, Jessica.
Hi.
It's great to see you.
It's good to see you too.
So I'm so excited because I met you earlier while you were doing a session,
Right.
and you were telling your story.
Right.
And you have an amazing story.
Thank you.
But one of the things I'm really excited about is the work that you're doing as a board member.
Right.
So I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm in Salinas City Elementary School District, so right next to the Monterey area. And this is my third year, so my second time. I reran last year and got the position, so now I'm in for 4 years. And my biggest thing this time around as a board member is really focusing on the whole child. Academics is very important, but also the social, emotional well-being of a student. And sometimes we can get lost in like the data, the numbers of just academics, that we can sometimes overlook the importance of the social emotional work of what we do for our kids. So I would definitely say going into it again this year as a school board trustee, that is my primary focus, is making sure that we speak to the whole child and not just to one area.
Certainly very much needed, especially now post-pandemic,
Right.
and with everything that's happening in the world, and kids and even adults trying to figure out
Exactly.
what's going on and how to handle it,
Yeah.
and their fit in society.
Right.
What's your political experience? So before you decided to
Yeah.
run as a board member, I'm sure you had a wealth of political experience.
No political experience.
Okay.
None at all. Just somebody that worked in the community and worked with a lot of kids, underserved populations, but no political experience whatsoever. So this is my very first taste of it.
So what was that entry like? Your first month
Yeah.
as this political figure, now serving on a board,
Right.
representing the future and voices of community
Right.
and students. What was that like?
It was hard. It was, especially it happened in 2020. So December 2020. So we're ending off this weird year already of, everything. And coming into a position and filling a board member who is very active in the community already and had been there for years. So for me, it was intimidating, if I'm being honest. I definitely doubted myself in the beginning, like, how am I going to do this? Like, with everything else that I am doing, as an educator, a mom, and just in the community, I didn't think it was possible. So I would definitely say that first month or two, I had a lot of self-doubt, a lot of questioning, wondering, was this the right thing to do? But it definitely, I wouldn't say it became easier, but I started to learn more and started to adapt to that role in that position.
So you said as an educator and as a
Yeah,
mom. So are you working in the field of education while serving on a board?
I am, yeah. So 6 years teaching as a high school teacher. So I'm actually a sister district to where I serve as a board member. So 6 years as that. So education full-time, and then also serving on the board, and then also a parent to a teenager, a freshman in high school as well. So
I imagine education becomes your social life as well at this point when you're doing so many roles.
Right. It does, but I try not to let it. I let the work day be the work day, and then when I go home, I really do my best not to bring work home, especially to my son. And just those that I'm also working with, I do my best not to mix in the things unless it's for a good cause or maybe events or partnership that we're doing. But I definitely try to keep everything where it needs to be.
So now you have 3 years of experience in this political public service role,
Right.
elected role.
Yes.
First experience kind of in politics.
Yeah.
And so does this mean you're going to run for a Senate position at some point? Or do you see a future in politics?
Honestly, from this conference, the morning speaker, it really, because I know the battles that we're facing with the education system. It's a set system, and it's like, in order to fix something, you have to know the language of it and you have to be able to dissect it. So for me personally, I would want to pursue more politics. However, thinking about the next generations to come, I feel that I'm being more led and drawn to getting into something more deeper and bigger than what I'm doing right now, just so that way I can understand and know what's going on, so I'm able to find different solutions and to problem solve based on what I want to target. So I definitely think some more future politics is definitely in my future, and it's something I'm looking forward to, but definitely through the lens of helping the next generation coming up.
So that's music to my ears, because you know me,
Right.
I like to know that women are taking on these policy roles that are impacting community,
Right.
impacting our future, the future of our kids, the future of this nation.
Right.
And certainly as women of color, we need
Right.
to be engaged in the policy work.
Exactly.
And so, high school teacher, on the board,
Yeah.
and I was very interested in how you answer the fact that you're letting this happen. You're waiting to see where this kind of disenrolls for you, right?
Right.
And keeping yourself open. And so I'm wondering, that must be part of like who you are as a person, how you grew up.
Yeah.
This leaving yourself open.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It is, yes. I'm very much a planner. However, I know you can't force things to happen. You have to let it take its course, and what will be will be. So definitely maturing over the years. I have been more prone to let go and, let whatever needs to happen, and don't fight it against it, and don't try to force it to happen. But if it's meant to be, it will pan out the way it needs to be.
So let me ask you the policy question.
Okay.
What do you see as the most important policy issues that, whether it's something that you're already kind of grappling with as a board, or whether it's something that you haven't grappled with yet within the official role as a board member, but you believe really is an important policy issue relative to success and access for our kids?
Honestly, one of the things is the pay for teachers. It's really sad to know that I do have friends that, they have careers. Not saying that their careers aren't impactful, but the work of educators, the work that we do, I know it doesn't stop once you leave the work site, and so just knowing that there's so much funds going towards other things versus taking care of our teachers and educators that take care of our kids. So that's one huge thing that it doesn't make sense to me, but I kind of know what's going on, but I really want to know, like, how can I make a difference in that? Another thing is a lot of our low socioeconomical schools and like counties and communities and cities, just the funding for them as well. I grew up in the Monterey Peninsula, so we had okay facilities, but I had the chance in middle school to go to a private school for 2 years, and so just seeing that difference within a 5-minute drive, it makes you think, like, why do they get to have more than what we get to have? And so finding ways to address the funding issue for our schools, for our kids, and also for our educators and the pay.
So I love to push you a little further back, if you're willing, which is so who is Jessica as a little girl? What are the things that came across your path that made you passionate about education, go into teaching, become a board member? Usually in retrospect, we're like, oh, some of these things started lining up for me.
I would definitely say, if you asked me if I was going to be in education, I would have said no. I was into sports. I wanted to be a physical therapist, athletic trainer. That was my background in college. But it wasn't until I really started doing community work and I was in the position to empower young girls, through my story that I was able to share. And it was through a club called Pearl Status that my little sister had at the high school that I went to. And so it was through that, and then also me remembering certain teachers growing up that actually cared about me, and that really was there for me. That even in my shortcomings, they were still there to help pick me up and say, like, you still can do it. Like, go pursue, what you want to do. And so bridging those two things together, it influenced me to think about becoming a teacher. So when I say teaching fell into my lap, it literally fell into my lap to where I was approached with opportunity, and I said, why not? Kind of like keeping that open mind, like, okay, I have a chance to go to get my master's in athletic training, or I can become an educator. Naturally, people will go get your master's in athletic training, but my heart knew that it was an education that I needed to be. So, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love the way you share your story. The other thing I was going to ask you was about your perspective of women of color serving on boards, and what you would advise some of our colleagues about serving on a board and being perhaps intimidated by it. What would you tell them? What would you advise them?
I would tell them to think about the girls, or the kids actually, that look like them, that they're representing, whatever ethnic background that you identify as. But for me, now recognizing myself as, wow, I am one of the first Black females in this role as a school board, and the youngest one, it gives me a sense of good empowerment, where now I want to go and help other young girls and say, like, you can make a difference. Like, you can be in these leadership roles. It doesn't have to be what we're so used to seeing, but why not shake the table a little bit and change the narrative? And so it definitely has given me some insight on representation and going out there, right? Because I think a lot of times we can see people that look like us on the big screen and they look untouchable, like, oh, I can never get to that level, I could never be that. But when we're able to use our power and position to meet our young kids where they're at and then help bring them up, that's something that I definitely want to continue to do. And that's what I will say to other women out there is, think of the ones that you're representing, think of how they're gonna feel when they see you up there, how proud they're gonna be, but also think about how we can come back down and to give them the tools and the things that they can use to be at the position where you're at today.
Well, I love your, rather than saying being at the table, shaking up the table. I'm going to have to use that from
shake
now.
The table
I like let's shake the table.
Yeah.
So I am thrilled to know a little more about you and to watch your career. And I'm gonna watch closely, because I imagine you taking some more public, political roles.
Yes.
And so I encourage you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
Take care.